This is Mark Pope, a student in Dr. Knudsen's Interdisciplinary Perspectives on the Holocaust class at Columbus State University, Summer 2012 semester. In this presentation, I will discuss Russian prisoners of war under Nazi Germany during World War II. My discussion will highlight Adolf Hitler's ideology as it relates to the Soviet Union. The German secret pact with the Soviets will also be discussed, followed by the Nazis' deception with the invasion of the Soviet Union. The treatment of Russian POWs will also be presented to illustrate the victimization of the Russian soldiers and people during the Holocaust. After World War I, the Treaty of Versailles provisioned that Germany must make substantial territorial concessions, thus giving up much of their conquered land. In Mein Kampf, Hitler declared his ideology and that part of Germany's destiny lied in expanding its Lebensraum. He stated, "We put an end to the perpetual Germanic march towards the south and west of Europe and turn our eyes toward the lands of the east. It is the mission of the National Socialist movement to develop in our people that political mentality which will enable them to realize that the aim which they must set to themselves for the fulfillment of their future must not be some wildly enthusiastic adventure in the footsteps of Alexander the Great, but industrious labor with the German plow, for which the German sword will provide the soil." This would eventually lead to the Nazis' plan of invasion of the Soviet Union. Hitler believed that two of the world's worst evils were Judaism and communism. He believed that Joseph Stalin led an evil empire in Russia, as it was a center of global communism populated with many Jews and Slavs. On August 23, 1939, Germany and the Soviet Union signed a non-aggression treaty, which also included a secret pact which resulted in the division of Eastern Europe into German and Soviet areas of influence. The secret pact would essentially divide the countries of Romania, Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, and Finland between Germany and Russia. The Nazis would invade Western Poland on September the 1st, while the Soviets invaded Eastern Poland on September the 17th. On June 22, 1941, the Nazis commenced with Operation Barbarossa by invading the Soviet Union. As a result of this violation of the non-aggression treaty, the Soviet Union joined the Allies in the war against Germany. The Eastern Front would become the largest and bloodiest battle in history in terms of manpower and casualties. The Nazis captured over 5.7 million Russian POWs, of whom only about 1.15 million survived. The Nazis did not apply the protections of the Geneva Convention. They reasoned that since the Red Army did not ratify the convention, it did not apply. During his meeting with senior commanders, Hitler stated that the imminent invasion of the Soviet Union would be a war of extinction. He further stated that if we do not regard it as such, we may defeat the enemy, but in 30 years we will again be confronted by the communist enemy. We are not fighting a war to conserve the enemy. On June 6, 1941, the Commissar order was issued. It stated that the enemy, the Bolsheviks, would not be expected to act in accordance with the principles of humanity or international law. Additional orders issued would free German soldiers of legal responsibility for their actions against the Soviet POWs. A decree issued in September 1941 would allow German soldiers to kill Soviet POWs with impunity. Soviet POWs are not usually classified as Holocaust victims. However, the Soviet POWs were treated horribly by the Wehrmacht and Reichsführer Himmler's killing squads. In August 1941, the Germans set a food ration for working Soviet POWs at 2,200 calories per day, well below the life-sustaining average. Many POWs were only allotted 700 calories per day. As a result, this subsistence ration caused many POWs to die from starvation. Their rations usually consisted of bread made from sugar beet husks and straw flour. Many POWs eased the hunger pangs by eating grass and leaves, and in extreme cases, some POWs resorted to cannibalism. The Germans provided poor shelters for the Soviet POWs. They also provided inadequate clothing to survive the harsh temperatures of winter, thus leading to mass deaths. Many POWs were abandoned for months in trenches, dugouts, or sod houses, allowing them to succumb to disease and exposure. The Germans shot severely wounded Soviet soldiers in order to free the German army from medical care of the wounded. German troops were ordered to be ruthless and wipe out any trace of resistance by the POWs. Attempts to escape resulted in being shot without warning. Executions did not occur at POW camps. Prisoners were transferred to concentration camps for execution. At Gross-Rosen concentration camp, more than 65,000 Soviet POWs were killed by feeding them only a thin soup of grass, water, and salt for 6 months. At Flossenburg, Soviet POWs were burned alive. They were shot in trenches at Majdanek. The rivers near Mauthausen, Austria, ran red with blood due to many Soviet POWs being shot near the streams. At Auschwitz, in September 1941, 600 Soviet POWs were selected for execution by experimentation with the gas Zyklon B, also known as hydrogen cyanide. Soon after that, the Nazis would implement this method, which would kill millions of people with minimal effort. In summary, although many have claimed that Russian POWs were not Holocaust victims, they were victims of some of the Nazis' most horrific treatment. Adolf Hitler's desire to expand the Vaterland's Lebensraum and his ideology against the evil communist empire resulted in Germany's deception and violation of the non-aggression treaty by invading the Soviet Union during Operation Barbarossa. The Nazis did not adhere to Geneva Conventions and declared that this operation would be a war of extinction. The German troops were ordered to shoot the Soviets with impunity. The horrific treatment of the Russian POW resulted in the deaths of more than 4 million prisoners.